Hello dear viewers. This story is about Lytuky, a young woman carrying the pain of being abandoned by her loved ones, from her biological parents to her foster mother, Thursday. At her most lost, she meets Officer Henry, who has also experienced deep loss. Through their shared empathy, these two lonely souls find a special bond and begin to support each other. But behind this compassion lies a dark conspiracy. Henry and his team are investigating a powerful and mysterious figure known as the Boss, suspected of being involved in multiple disappearances and the collapse of several companies. To get close to him, they disguise themselves as scrap collectors to secretly gather evidence. The tension rises even more when Lytuky suddenly becomes a target, forcing Henry to risk everything to protect her. If you love thrilling detective stories combined with heartfelt emotions, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the upcoming episodes. Don't forget to leave your comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. In the chilly late afternoon breeze, beneath the rustling canopy of old trees, Lytuky sat quietly beside Henry, a stoic police officer with solemn yet warm eyes. The petite girl tried to keep her voice from trembling, but every word she uttered felt like a blade slicing through her heart. She spoke of her orphan childhood, of waiting in vain for loved ones to return, and of Thursday, her foster mother, not related by blood, yet someone who had loved her wholeheartedly. And now, she too was gone, leaving behind a gaping void in Lytuky's heart that she didn't know how to fill. She didn't blame anyone. It was just, why did they all leave her so quietly? The love she gave, the effort she made to hold on to her family, none of it seemed enough to make them stay. Maybe I'm not worthy of being loved, she asked, her voice quivering with self-doubt. Henry didn't answer right away. He looked at her for a long moment, his gaze seemingly drifting back to the shadows of his own past. Henry shared that he, too, had lost everything in a single night. His father had been used and betrayed, his mother forced to flee the country, their family's name dragged through the mud. He had once been consumed by anger, burning with the need for revenge. But in time, he realized that vengeance couldn't bring back what he had lost, it would only deepen the wounds. Instead, he chose to become a police officer, not for retribution, but to understand the law, to protect others from the kind of suffering his family endured. Lytuky was silent. What Henry shared wasn't just comforting, it was genuine empathy, rare and deeply human. Neither of them tried to sugarcoat the pain or offer empty reassurances. They simply sat next to each other, letting the sadness flow freely in the silence between them. At one point, Lytuky broke down in tears. No one told her to stop. Henry didn't say a word, he simply handed her a tissue and let her cry. It was the first time in years that Lytuky felt truly heard, not as a fragile victim, but as a human being with the right to hurt, to grieve. In Henry, she saw a soul that had also suffered, yet managed to move forward without losing his tenderness. There were no love confessions, no holding hands, just the slow forming of something honest and quiet, like an underground spring gently seeping into dry, cracked earth. It was a connection not born from infatuation or promises, but from shared pain and understanding, something that bound two broken souls together with invisible threads. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of crimson and gold, Lytuky looked up and whispered, "I'll live strong, so that Mom can see her daughter is brave." Henry smiled gently. No words were needed. Her resolve was already a glimmer of light breaking through the darkness within her, and within him too. Behind the quiet empathy shared between Henry and Lytuky, a dark and sinister conspiracy was gradually unfolding. The mastermind behind this hidden web of crime was known in confidential police files by a simple but chilling alias, the Boss. No one knew his real identity. He never appeared in the media, had no legal records, and no traceable financial data. All Henry and his team had were scattered leads, faint trails from mysterious disappearances, unexplained deaths, and most recently, the sudden collapse of a once prominent corporation, Tan Song Group. Chien, a potential key witness who had once been assigned to shadow Henry, had suddenly gone missing. The last word about him came from a trembling underling who confessed that Chien had been thrown into a river but somehow survived, and later reappeared at the home of two mysterious doctors. Strange experimental medicines found on a mountain, nighttime break-ins, and the mass disappearance of anyone who got too close to the Boss led Henry to a chilling realization: they weren't just dealing with a criminal. They were up against a shadow force powerful enough to manipulate the entire system. The estate where the Boss resided was heavily guarded. Approaching it through conventional means was out of the question. The security detail was no mere rent-a-cop service, they were highly trained professionals, fiercely loyal, and authorized to shoot on sight. The mansion itself, fortified with concrete walls and modern surveillance systems, resembled a fortress more than a home. In an emergency meeting with his core investigation team, Henry laid out a daring plan that left everyone silent, disguised themselves as scrap collectors to infiltrate the neighborhood and gather evidence. "We'll split into two teams," Henry declared, eyes burning with determination. One team will pose as recyclers, buying and collecting scraps from nearby residents, while slowly getting close to the estate. The second team will shadow them, interview locals, and use hidden cameras and audio devices to record anything, even the smallest clue. Henry knew the risk. One slip, one exposed identity, and it could cost them their lives. But doing nothing meant never uncovering the truth, and leaving Lytuky, and countless other innocent victims, at the mercy of the forces lurking in the dark. The operation launched quickly. Torn clothes, rusty pushcarts, repetitive cries of buying bottles, cans, scrap paper. Every detail was carefully orchestrated. The officers studied the language, mannerisms, and weary postures of real scrap collectors to make their cover believable. But on the very first day of the mission, Henry's team sensed danger. The guards around the estate were clearly used to an empty perimeter. Any new presence instantly raised suspicion. One of the guards, a towering man with steely eyes, blocked a team member pretending to collect paper, There's nothing to buy here." "Move along," he growled, his gaze piercing. Though turned away, Henry saw it as a small victory. He'd witnessed the guards' protocol, their response timing, and most importantly, the tension on their faces. Something was definitely being hidden inside. Back at the safe house, Henry reviewed recordings from hidden cameras and mics. In one clip, a woman living next door to the boss mentioned hearing trucks come and go late at night, yet never seeing any goods delivered or removed. Those mysterious nighttime trips could be a vital lead, possibly linked to illegal operations or human trafficking. A silent war had begun. No bullets, no explosions, just intellect, patience, and courage. And Henry knew, if he wanted to protect Lytuky and drag the truth into the light, he'd have to push even further, even if it meant stepping straight into the jaws of danger. Behind the still surface of everyday life, a silent war was brewing. After many sleepless nights flipping through case files and analyzing every tiny clue, Henry and his investigative team arrived at a bold decision, one without precedent in their department's history. They would disguise themselves as scrap collectors to quietly approach the residential area of the man known only as the boss. The boss, a name that sounded almost ordinary, was in fact a shadowy figure of immense power. No one knew his true face, identity, or origins. But Henry was certain of one thing: this man was the mastermind behind numerous dark dealings, including the suspicious collapse of the once thriving Tan Song Corporation and the mysterious disappearances of several people, among them Chien, a trusted former colleague. The mansion where the boss resided resembled a fortress. It was surrounded by layers of reinforced steel fences, modern surveillance systems, and a security team made up of highly trained guards. Any stranger approaching was watched, questioned, or even subtly threatened. Conventional methods of investigation were clearly out of the question. "We won't use guns. We won't storm in like an action movie. We need to be quiet, discreet, invisible," Henry stated during the team briefing, his voice calm but resolute. The room fell silent for a moment before heads began to nod one by one. They all understood, this was a high-stakes mission, and the smallest mistake could cost them their lives. Within days, the team sprang into action. They prepared worn, tattered clothes, makeshift carts, fabric sacks, and plastic bags. Each member practiced how to walk, talk, and behave like real scrap collectors. They blended into the bustle of the city, weaving through alleys and streets near the mansion with keen eyes, never revealing their true purpose. On the very first day of their operation, one team member encountered a towering security guard with a face as cold as stone. The man approached and narrowed his eyes. "There's nothing for sale here. Move along." He didn't threaten directly, didn't raise a hand, but his glare was a silent warning. Despite the rejection, Henry took this as a positive sign. He had observed how the guards reacted, the frequency of their patrols, and most importantly, the flicker of unease that sometimes flashed in their eyes. Something serious was being hidden behind those tall walls, something the security team could never afford to let slip. That night, back at the safe house, the team reviewed footage recorded by a hidden camera embedded in one of their hats. In one clip, a local woman whispered to a disguised officer, "I see trucks going in there late at night, always covered up, and they leave just as quickly. It's strange. The guards don't say a word and won't let anyone get too close." That piece of information was like a golden puzzle piece, illuminating the dark picture Henry was slowly piecing together. Behind the heavily guarded gates could lie evidence or even living victims connected to the long unsolved cases. If that were true, then their undercover scrap collector mission wasn't just a tactic, it was possibly the only hope of bringing justice to light in a place where the truth had long been buried.